There's a YouTube show full of fun facts you need to know. Carl rings the bell and the members show to the GMP Morning Show. Featured guests will come and they will blow your mind. The audience will do so in kind. The little vanity mixed with some insanity on the morning show with GMP. Hey, Gumpers.
Now, hello, good morning, everybody. I'm not sure if you're seeing the same thing as me. I'm seeing things on the screen like, is someone going to tell him he's live? Unmute, unmute, says T-Duck. Laryngitis. No, that's not my new stage name. Larry Engitis, everybody. No, suddenly the screen went black and the intro video started playing again. So presumably you didn't see that and you were just seeing me sat here wondering what on earth was going on, typing things into the computer, etc. Well, good morning. Bon dia alegria to you. How are you this morning? Well, I hope. Laryngitis. Carl, I can't even say how often I have that look. Well, I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you enjoyed that very much indeed. Good morning, T-Duck. Good morning, James. Good morning, Baddy from Iceland. There is sound now, though, isn't there? I'm hoping so. That's why I put that message on the screen for you. Nearly here, everybody. Nearly here this morning. A few minutes past 8:30, and hopefully things have settled down now. And we are streaming. When it's going well, it's going really well, isn't it? And it's all seamless and lovely. And technology is our friend. And occasionally we have those moments. So I really don't know what happened there, but I hope everything has settled down now. Perhaps somebody could confirm that. Oh, yeah. Okay. Thank you so much, James, for that. All good now. Well, let's see about that, shall we? And a bon dia todos from Antonio F. who's here as well. Antonio, good morning to you. 100%, absolutely 100%. So you didn't see a double intro. I was watching a double intro. Very interesting. Okay, let's move on. Let's move on and have a Consumer Tuesday together, shall we? Where we'll have Dr. Michael from Serenity joining us at 9. Well, I hope so. Again, that might be a little bit of a technical challenge. We shall see about that. Hoping to have Michael at 9 anyway. And then Daniel Reis. So if you've got any questions about the law in Portugal or the health system, medicine health in Portugal, these are the right gentlemen to speak to, as is Paul Corea, who's popping in quickly as well to join us before 9 o'clock this morning. Because, yes, there's a new prime minister in the UK, of course. And the euro struggling against the dollar continues to. And we had a little message from Sarah as well on this Consumer Tuesday. So lots to talk about, lots of interesting news items, news articles on both the president. So I just collapsed the Portugal resident into the president. Now, I'm sure they'd like that to be called the president, but actually the Portugal resident and the Portugal news. Very fascinating. A little bit dark at the moment, or is it always like that? And I just don't always notice. But yeah, the news spread as I look at it on the front pages of the Portugal Resident and the Portugal News. A lot of gloom and doom there, but a starting point perhaps to have conversations with both Michael and Daniel Reis of Reis and Pellicano, and of course Paul Corea as well, who's popping in briefly this morning. Excellent stuff. Portugal rejects windfall tax. Okay, Paul might have something to say about that, about the rising cost of energy. I'm sure you might have something to say about that as well. Another PM in the UK. Well, it is a Tuesday, indeed. Owen's in as well, and Simon. I hope you had a lovely time with the birthday in your house. 3 Ps in the pod. Who else is here this morning? Coach Turner, fantastic. Got the video. We'll play the video. He's not a fan of smoothies, he says. And Olsen was first in, though, this morning at just after 7 o'clock. And let's show that lovely picture that you sent me. These are called officially the Aurora Borealis, are they not? Bon dia, still from Stockholm, 3 days to countdown. It was so lovely. I mean, this picture is fantastic. That's the Northern Lights. Who else has seen these apart from Anna here this morning? Absolutely wonderful photograph, but it's what you said as well. Honestly, Carl, last night was amazing. Little emoji, my second encounter of Northern Lights. I could feel the excitement and delight in the message that you sent me along with this beautiful picture here, Anna. So yes, on the way back soon to Portugal, but having a great time in Stockholm and Sweden there, and the Northern Lights for you. Look at that. Isn't that thoughtful of Anna to capture that for us? It is going back to school time, of course, as well. Certainly in Portugal, in the UK, where I'm from, kids are going back to school. So a lovely picture of my granddaughter in a new school uniform for the new year. This isn't her mum, by the way, but this is something somebody sent me. Best back to school pic I've ever seen. That mum looks quite happy. Those kids don't, do they? The kids are going back to. Is that America or is that UK? That picture. But anyway, kids, if you are being subjected to the show on the way to school, having to listen to this, I'm so sorry. This used to happen to me as well when I was a kid. Terry Wogan was yeah, that would be better, wouldn't it? Sorry, you've got me if you're listening on the way to school by any chance. Have a great new autumn term, everybody, and parents. Yes. Go easy. Maybe stop off on the way home and have a nice little celebratory caffeinato or whatever your local equivalent is. Fantastic. Okay, lots of lovely pics, including this one, Victoria. I'm doing these now just in case we don't get time later on. But look at all this lovely produce. Victoria did say to us the other day, didn't she, that she was on the way to the market. That's what she swooped in and took advantage of at the market there. Alvor, I think. Even some sprigs of rosemary, I think, there. Wonder what she cooked up with that. Lovely produce from the Algarve there. Thank you very much. Staying in the Algarve. Thank you, Paul, for this picture. This is Portugal looking at Spain. Thought you might like to see this as well. Carl, the Spanish village is called Sanlúcar de Guadiana. Sanlúcar de Guadiana is a localidad in the province of Huelva, Andalusia, Spain, situated here. Near the Portugal-Spain border, 50 kilometers from the city of Huelva. The inhabitants are known as, we need to just stop that banner for a moment to find out. Oh, okay, the inhabitants of that village are called the Sanluqueños, for your information. Thank you, Paul, for that. Very thoughtful picture of Spain from the Portuguese border, which Paul is able to enjoy from his part of Portugal there. Thanks, everybody, for all your lovely pickies this morning. Dad jokes as well. Portuguese sayings and deep thoughts of the day. I wonder if there's anything else I can bring you from the picture deck right now. Oh, we've got lots of events. Thank you, Andy. Great job, Andy. Oh, yes, and this on Consumer Tuesday. We had Leona, didn't we, talking about her lovely potions and balms and so on. And I've now got myself some of the beard balm, but it's nothing to do with this picture that's on your screen. This is from Dougie this morning, who says this. What's this pot? Does anyone recognize this roundabout? I do not think they are real sheep, but it was the sheep that caused him to say this is the Wales of Portugal. Castro Verde. Castro Verde is the name of this Portuguese town, where you will see, 4 sheep on the roundabout there. I think somebody needs to do a book of the roundabout art, the civic art of Portugal, and the many roundabouts of Portugal, which we should note that strike terror into the hearts of many drivers coming over who aren't used to the rotary or roundabout system. Once you know how to do it, it's fine. And there are many roundabouts in Portugal, and many feature arts or curiosities as you see here in Castrovel. Thank you very much for that, Dougie. Okay, let's go to a few of your comments. We will be welcoming Paul soon. I think Paul's going to be joining us with a chat about like he does, what's going on in the world to affect your wealth and money. And he's on his way to Portugal, of course, and wants to meet up with anyone who would like to talk to him to have a chat about wealth management with Paul Corea from Fiduciary Wealth Management. I hope he's going to join me between now and 9 o'clock. Let me just make sure he's got the link, shall I? Paul, where are you, Paul? Okay. Has he got the link? Yes, he does have the link. Fantastic. Okay. The Miller Lite suggests America. Oh, from the mum, the mum in the pool there. Yes. Okay. The comments are going to be slow to the screen. Oh my goodness, what's happening here this morning? Do you know what? It's something to do with all the videos and pictures you send me. I think it just slows down the computer a little bit. Not complaining, but just realizing I've got a little bit of housekeeping to do. Let's go straight into a God Squad tip of the day then. Continuing the theme of flexibility, and I'll play you a quick vid that will show you what he was talking about last week. The side lunge improves hip mobility. Thank you, Ian, for this, by the way. Growing old disgracefully, gentle fitness for bon viveurs. Standing upright, step sideways as far as you can this morning. Then bend that leg as much as you feel comfortable doing. Then stand up again and repeat the other side. Over time, you'll be able to go lower. And how low can you go until you can almost touch your heel with your backside? Ooh. I'm not a fan of smoothies. From touching your heel with your backside to smoothies, they take perfectly good fruit and vegetables and destroy all the fiber in them. However, if you do have to drink them, why not improve them with some alcohol? Okay, that's a God Squad tip of the day and a half, isn't it? Let's have a look at the video that he sent in then and see if we can think for yourself. Can I do this? Am I going to be able to do this? Oh, no, I can't bring you that because I've got too many videos. But here from the United Kingdom is, if anyone's worried about their energy bill, here's some very kind advice from the United Kingdom.
With the cost of living crisis, there's lots of things you can really do, and they're very cost effective, like this. Now, I didn't use this very much because I've just been on holiday, but it's very cost effective. You can turn the thermostat down and it really warms you up. And I'm sure Martin will agree, it's just sort of little things like this that can really, really help that I think people just sort of don't think about.
There you go. I wonder what you make of that. I'm just going to wait and see what you make of that before I say anything more. And I'm uploading the Coach Turner's video now. Can you try this at home as well as putting on a few layers rather than turning on the central heating if you're watching in a colder part of the world? Okay, just processing. It's almost like watching a smoothie being made. I'm destroying the fiber of Coach Turner's video now. Oh, this is very, very interesting. I've got an excellent screenshot from the video. Let's just have a look at the whole thing in glorious Technicolor.
All our jumpers, as per Mr. Munson's request, here's a video showing the 3 exercises that are broadly core related that I've suggested this week. And the first one is to get into the press up position. Don't do press ups. And you bring your arm like that. You bring your arm like that. And you keep going for a few goes, just like that. The second one's a little easier. Hands and knees, various jokes about who doesn't like, etc. And you bring your arm up and your leg out. Just like that. Hold for 5 seconds. Come back down. Same again the other side. Hold for 5 seconds and down, and repeat up to about 10 times each side. You can build up to that. And the last exercise that I proposed was again from the same position, or rather from the press up position. You bring your foot forward as far as you can. As you get older, of course, we're a bit less flexible than the kids, but just do that. And that's great for the core, great for your flexibility, your hip flexibility, and as you can hear, I'm blowing a bit, so it also means you're working. Hope that helps. I'll put another tip up on Friday morning and then hopefully all next week. See you soon. Bye.
Legend! Who doesn't like to put a tip up on a Friday morning? Thank you so much for that, Coach Turner. That is brilliant. Okay, now it all makes sense. I really couldn't, we all think differently, don't we, and how we see the world. And I couldn't, when I was reading it out, I couldn't quite see that. But when you're seeing it on the video, it's so much easier to figure out. Oh, I've got some dots on the screen there, haven't I? Some spooky extraterrestrial phenomenon perhaps on the screen behind me there. Keep an eye on those, everybody. They're like the Mysterons. Anyone remember the Mysterons? Bon dia, Gumpers. And Coach Turner, thank you so much for that. I will make sure that's available for anybody who wants to. Just drop me a line if you want that video. We need to stick that up on the internet somewhere, don't we? Bon dia, Gumpers. Feliz terça a todos. Quem tem feito? James, how are you? Fantastic yesterday, mate. Will Rogers then for today. Ignorance lies not in the things you don't know, but in the things you know that ain't so. Yes, and that can be that's our blind spot, isn't it? And we all have them. We all have them. So that might be a deep thought of the day. What is it? What are the things you know that ain't so? Are we prepared to go there? I am. I'd love to. Okay, but not too much, but a little bit. Bon dia, Gumpers from the T-Duck with a deep thought of the day, then straight into this. Where's Paul Corea this morning? He's meant to be joining us. What did I say to him? Yes. Yeah, I've got him scheduled. I need to send him a quick message. Sorry, because I don't have a production team to help me do this. I'm going to just send him a quick message. Are you joining us? We're ready here, aren't we? The water's lovely. You coming in, Paul, to talk about wealth management? Okay. The deep thought of the day. Success is not the key to happiness. Happiness is the key to success. Ooh. Albert Schweitzer, like this. If you love what you are doing, you will be successful. My goodness. Can we have some scientific evidence of that from anyone who's experienced that in life? Please share. I'm not that I doubt that. I think that's absolutely the way forward. But a little part of me thinks, I suppose where my rational mind was going with that was that, some of the things I've done that I've loved doing haven't really been that successful. Where am I going wrong? But the thing is, I love doing them anyway. So that in its way is a form of success. So if that's what that means, all well and good. But I'm interested to unpack that a little bit. Going back to last Friday then, and that Charlie Chaplin poem that Jenny B mentioned, and talking about the things that we know that ain't so. Sometimes it might get us into the last paragraph of that little bit of prose that it's called a poem. I guess it could be called a poem. We no longer need to fear arguments, said Charlie Chaplin. In his As I Began to Love Myself self-love poem. This is how it finishes. It's a long, what I'll do is I'll put a link in so you can see that. We brought that to you on Friday with Jenny. We no longer need to fear arguments, confrontations, or any kind of problems with ourselves or others. Even stars collide, and out of their crashing, new worlds are born. Today, I know that is life, said Charlie Chaplin. Isn't that beautiful? So yes, that little theme then of investigating things that we think we know that ain't so. Will Rogers is taking us. Albert Schweitzer also taking us a splendid direction this morning. What was his book? Circles of Compassion, wasn't it? Albert Schweitzer was an Alsatian. Wow, clever. Oh, I see. A human being, I'll say. Albert Schweitzer was an Alsatian, German, French polymath theologian, organist, musicologist, writer, humanitarian, philosopher, and physician. Basically a show-off. But thank you very much, Albert, for your excellent wise words this morning. Portuguese saying of the day, then. This is the counterpoint, is it not, to what we've just heard from Albert? A preguiça e a chave de pobres. Pobres, what a good word. Laziness, then, is the key to poverty. Okay, very interesting. Very interesting to chuck into the mix there this morning. Dad jokes to come. We'll save those, won't we? Because we'll have been talking about health and law. We might need a few dad jokes towards the end of the show, and a bit of go-karting as well. Andy has sent in a go-karting video. Wouldn't that be a good Gumper gathering where we race each other in go-karts? Who's up for that? I used to think I was indecisive, but I'm not so sure. I used to think I was indecisive. I used to think I could read a sentence and get to the end of it, but now I'm not so sure. Thank you. People who use selfie sticks. I do love this. People who use selfie sticks. No, I'm doing the dad jokes. We'll come back to those. You are so right about smoothies. Juices and smoothies are processed foods. Ooh, I hadn't thought about it like that. The most processed food of all is oil, even olive oil. All the fiber and nutrients are removed, leaving just the fat. But yum, that lovely olive oil fat, Tita. And I'm sure you can, if you want, you can have some of the olive pulp The mill will save that for you so that you can eat it and smother it on yourself, or whatever it is you want to do with that fiber. But I get your point. Bon dia, Carl and Campos. Digo, how are you? Hola, bon dia, alegria. Campos from a grey but dry Belfast. Only 36 sleeps till I'm feeling some Portuguese heat. Nice one. Good to hear that. And 2 10-day trips booked for 2023. Wow, Deagle. That is some amazing forward planning. Questions lined up for health and law, Della. What have you got? Is that for Michael this morning? Or have you got legal questions for Daniel as well? Daniel's amazing. I always have a great chat with Daniel, but I don't want to monopolize Daniel. If you've got questions to do with the legal system in Portugal or the law itself, ask Daniel at 9:30. Raj is in as well. Bon dia, Gumpers. How are you, Raj? And a bon dia from Stephen as well. How's it going? And then we went through that bit, didn't we, of laryngitis and no sound, unmute, etc. I can't wait to see that again at the beginning of the show. Owen, how are you doing, Owen? What are you up to? Where'd you get to, Owen? Howdy, Owen from T-Duck as well. And good morning from Simon this morning. Good morning, Simon, to you and Andy, who I've been mentioning, who we'll see go-karting a little bit later on at the end of the show. Hola, bon dia todos from a dampish Bairrada. He does have a few posters for us. These you'll find in the events section of expatsportugal.com/events. What you got here then? Festas dos Moelas. That's Gizzards, isn't it? Gizzards and Pick-a-Pow Festival. On the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th of September. On it goes, the partying, the eating, the Epicurean marathon here in Portugal. Fantastic from the Bairrada there. And what is this? Freestyle Moto, Car Wash Turo Mecanico. Not sure what this is, but a tuning motor show, the 3rd of its kind by the sound of it. And that is in Palhaça, Oliveira de Bairro. Andy doing his utmost best to draw people to the Bairrada, which is an incredible part of the country, not least for its wine and suckling pig delicacies, but also these incredible events. A stunt team, the Jacques Stunt NH Pina stunt team will be there. That will be a classically, characteristically, and brilliantly Portuguese event. I can tell already. Have you been to that already, Andy? What's it like? Do let me know. Thank you, Andy, for all the work you do on bringing events to us. Flat Earth, maybe. What's that about? Is that the dots on my screen? I don't know how you've made. I don't know how I've made that connection. Maybe you didn't make that connection. Back to school, the most wonderful time of the year. Not for the kids, it's not. Still got the scars to prove it. Good morning, everyone, from Lisa M. How are you? Emotional, mainly. Good morning, everyone. Lisa, how are you doing this morning? And yeah, the Miller Lite. Okay, so that mum in America, I think. Sending her kids off to school and celebrating with a Miller Lite. Bon dia. No wonder we're in the trouble we're in. Amelie Kelly, bon dia. Oh, Amelie, how are you feeling today? We're getting a little bit of a high reading on the stressometer. Hope you're feeling better and that we were able to calm you somewhat yesterday. Bon dia, Carl, and hi to all from Connie. Good morning to you, Connie. And are you on the forum? Look, James is reaching out. Are you on the forum? And if so, do you mind sharing your profile name there? Very good. Fiona says, thank you. We'll be doing some of Ian Turner's exercises, albeit with a bit of a wobble. Well, I'm not being funny, but even the coach does it with a bit of a wobble, and he got a bit blowy, as he said at the end there. So no shame in that. It's the taking part that counts and making the effort. And so, yes, I hope you had a great day, Fiona. A few of us wishing you the very best. Parabéns, etc. I see on Facebook yesterday. And I think we said sent you birthday wishes as well on the show yesterday. The Portuguese away, clothing rather than heating bills. Yes, that's right. It was from the UK. It was tongue-in-cheek, by the way. It was somebody... not stereotyping, but rather caricaturing of the political leadership. And I use that term loosely in the UK at the moment. Yes, Rosie Holt is a comic legend. You recognise her, isn't she fantastic, Ian? And nicely juxtaposed there and edited with, what's his name? Martin Lewis, the money-saving expert. We haven't got long to talk to Paul, but he's here with me now. How are you doing, Paul? Where are you, in Gibraltar?
I am indeed. Very well, thank you, Carl. And you?
Very well, mate. Good of you to pop in. And
Thank you.
You're on your way to Portugal soon. How's Gibraltar this morning?
Very good. A bit chilly, but still nice, clear blue sky, so we can't complain. I would imagine not too dissimilar to Portugal.
Absolutely. Yeah, quite a moist and damp one this morning as I walk the dogs. Muted sunshine, but yeah, beautiful. We know it's going to be a beautiful day later on today. And
Can you guarantee good weather for my visit?
yeah,
Or
definitely. Yeah, don't you let me take care of that. You've got other things to be dealing with. I will take care of that for you, okay? It's a deal. Okay.
absolutely.
All right. Well, you'll tell us more about that and how people can meet up with you. But what impact will this new prime minister have, do you think, Paul, in the UK on the global economy? It's been a long time coming, isn't it?
I don't think it should have much of an impact. Gonna say no, but before anyone starts to raise the finger, it's not a feminist joke or anything. I think it's nothing to do with that. It doesn't matter whether it's Boris Johnson, Liz Truss, or Joe Bloggs.
Okay.
I think the problem is so endemic now. It's such a big problem we're in that no one's going to fix it.
Really?
So
What do you mean?
I think it makes no difference. I think, in fairness to Boris, despite all his, character flaws and errors of judgment, of which there were plenty, I still think he's done some good stuff. That people maybe overlook.
Okay.
I think with the COVID, leaving aside, the health minister, and what he was up to during COVID, and the fact that he was seen in a party. But in fairness, I think he handled the COVID crisis pretty well. I think with Ukraine, he's been shown his political leadership.
Yes.
As well. So, look, I don't trust any politician, but I think, yeah. And if it was between Liz Truss and Sunak, I'd rather have Liz. Again, this is not anything to do with race or anything. It's just simply that I think there should be a bit of loyalty, and Liz showed a bit of loyalty during Boris's tenure as prime minister, and
Yes.
Sunak was very quick to stick in the knife. And I don't know.
You clearly keep quite a close eye on the situation in the UK. Are you from the UK originally? Is that why you're keeping such a close eye on it?
No. I always have a keen interest in politics and how that shapes both the economy and the social landscape. It's quite fascinating how all that changes.
Okay, all right. Well, that is fascinating to me. What a great grasp of you that you have of it, and I notice as well with a lot of your comments, you say putting that aside. You kind of have to do that in politics these days, don't you? It's like, apart from that terrible job they did with this, and that, and that other thing, and what a terrible person they are. They actually did quite a job with this tiny little thing here, and that's the kind of concession you have to make or we find ourselves making in politics, right?
But because I think we've never, at least in our lifetime, we've never seen such a poor bunch of politicians. I think there's a real lack of leadership. Honestly, I think if I had to say who's the most aspiring leader right now, I would probably say Zelensky. He's showing leadership, right? He's dressed in army gear.
Green t-shirt definitely helps.
Green t-shirt, no airs or graces. He's there. He could have flown out and directed the operation from afar, but he's there with his family. For me, that's leadership. Leadership is not about being suited and booted and saying the right narratives.
Yes,
it's what you do and how you act. And how you act when people are not seeing.
Yes, well said. Yes, how you act when the cameras aren't on. That's very interesting.
Yeah, that is ethics. The rest is just nonsense.
I dread to think what's going on when the cameras aren't looking with a lot of these people that we're talking about. But anyway, Paul, that's not why you called, as it were. But very interesting nonetheless. I heard something in your opening gambit there that you said, there's not much she can do about it. Nothing to do with her. There's a juggernaut on the move. Is that what I gleaned from what you were saying? It doesn't really matter who's in charge. Something else is afoot. There are global forces at work that really aren't under the control anymore of individual leaders. What do you mean?
We've lost control completely of the inflation narrative.
Okay.
we acted too quickly and too fast and too much to avoid the global economy going into a deep recession during COVID, which is partly
Yeah.
understandable, but they
Yes.
went too far. Too quickly is fine because you learn from the global financial crisis,
Yeah.
but too far and too much is completely unacceptable.
Yeah.
And then when it comes to once the economy was overstimulated and we came out of the pandemic, we've acted too slowly and done too little. And now we're paying the price that inflation is deeply entrenched and embedded in the psyche of the global economy, and there's no way of getting out of it. You know, every company that can is passing on the inflation to someone else. Yeah, so suppliers are saying if we can pass it on to our clients, we will. And then people are saying, you know, transport in the UK, and everyone says, well, I want a 10% pay rise, which means that you can't really stop. The train is now going down the hill. It's difficult to stop it completely, you know, and they're trying to raise rates to reduce aggregate demand, but the supply factors that you can't control. So it's a tricky one. I think we're heading for stagflation, high inflation, very slow growth. And you know, God knows where it's all going to end because they have lost the plot completely. And you know,
They being the combination of the Federal Reserves and the politicians.
absolutely. I mean, the Federal Reserve is leading the way, and the last meeting they had, I think last Friday or the Friday before, is we're going to continue raising rates. And then you have the European Central Bank and the Bank of England and everyone following the lead, of raising rates into a slowing economy. And I think it's going to have devastating consequences. I think the biggest risk we have is that if you look at the US dollar, I think I spoke about it last time, over 22 years, it's at a 22-year high.
Mm-hmm.
Over 60 years, there's only been 3 points in time when the dollar has been higher against a basket of currencies. If you look at the emerging economies, look at Turkey with the Turkish lira, Ghana, the problem they have is several things. They trade mainly in dollars. So if you have a strong dollar, their exports become uncompetitive in global markets.
Yes.
So what do? They devalue their currency. Turkey devalued 80%. Ghana has devalued whatever, 50 or 60. They're all devaluing their currency. The problem is that whilst they're devaluing their currency to remain competitive, when they issue debt in the market, they don't issue debt in Ghana or Turkish lira. Quite often they issue it in dollars.
Yes.
Because there's no appetite to buy debt in the foreign currency. So more often than not, it's in US dollars. Now, as the economy slows down and they devalue considerably and the economy goes into contraction, they are starting to have difficulty to repay their debt, to repay the interest on the debt.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have debt defaults spreading and contagion across the bond market globally.
Yes.
So this strong dollar is not good for the global economy, and it's getting to levels which are worrying right now.
Okay, causing questions such as this one: will the fiat system survive, given that the dollar is the basically the skeleton, isn't it, upon which all the currency flesh of the world hangs upon at the moment?
I think the fiat system as we have it now will not survive. I'm happy to put my neck on the line. They will have to tinker somehow.
Yes.
Would it be backed by gold and silver?
Yeah.
Will an electronic currency come? You know, will they launch an electronic currency? God knows. But the system as it is now, it's completely flawed, and they're just kicking the can, pushing it down the road, so to speak. But the problem remains, and the economic system as we know it is you know, we're cornered, we're snookered. There's no way out of this. We've got now the high rampant inflation, slowing economy, rising rates. They're doing quantitative tightening now.
Yes.
Companies that can't pass on their costs are having their profits being eroded.
Yeah.
And it won't be long before we start seeing companies going under and people getting unemployed. It's just a matter of time now.
Okay, well, thank you for being here with your cheerful message this morning, Paul.
Oh yeah, cheers.
Yes, but yeah, thank you.
Does anyone want to see me so I can cheer them up?
Yes,
Portugal?
Paul will see you now if you if you need a touch of inspiration. No, but you're right. I mean, anyone can see this, can't they? Who takes a look at these things? They are the cycles, aren't they? I was listening to Ray Dalio, who I think is amazing. He gives a lot of
Wow.
free. Ray Dalio is quite the speaker, isn't he? And he talks about cycles and history. I think he's such a great investor because he's such a keen historian. And you were referring to these cyclical points, weren't you? There and seeing the writing on the wall and the inevitable trends of humanity. Big question, of course, Paul, is what to do about it. And of course, that is what your life's about, isn't it? Certainly, your professional life is how to manage these situations from a wealth management and protection point of view. So, I mean, you're not going to give away your trade secrets here, but I think you can be indicative and give us a few pointers, perhaps.
No, I keep saying the same thing, and I know that it hasn't played out yet.
Yeah.
But that's because you have to play the long game.
Mm-hmm.
In markets which are as volatile as and unpredictable as we face now, you have to have the long-term mindset.
Yeah.
And I say the same thing: gold and silver, all the industrial metals, nickel, platinum, and aluminium. So all those base metals, energy, because I think we have an energy crisis. And leaving aside supplies, we have the US have their strategic reserves. And to put the price of oil down, to keep the price down, what they've been doing is selling their strategic reserves and using them.
Yeah.
But those are not those are finite. They're not infinite. And they're
Yes.
running down so quickly, the US, their strategic reserves, to keep the price down because there's a shortage of supply.
Yes.
There's a supply-demand imbalance. They're using their strategic reserves. But there's an energy crisis. And even though we say going green initially, there's more cost and it's inflation in the short term, not in the long term.
Yes.
So in the short term, and what you have all the oil companies, all the oil majors not investing in new oil fields because they're not profitable.
Yeah.
So they're saying, well, if we're not getting any support from the government, everyone's going green. Why should we invest? We might as well keep a high price. I think higher oil prices are here to stay for the longer term, and may well once we hit the autumn and winter. Sorry, I'm the bearer of bad news. I think the price of oil will shoot. So I would say keep a lot of exposure to energy, and they're paying great dividends because they're not investing in new projects, but they're paying back dividends to investors. Food crisis, another one to be exposed. So food, energy, industrial metals, gold and silver.
Mm-hmm.
And then I would say things like infrastructure, anything which is infrastructure, a bit of value stock, and I would say as a new thing I would mention is uranium, because I think people are now accepting. I think Elon Musk came out last week and something which I fully agree with. I've been saying it for months now, that everyone talks about the transition to green, which is true, but it's a slow burn. You can't turn the oil off and become green overnight. It takes 10 years. And what they're realizing is that, and they're trying now to reclassify nuclear as clean energy because it's somewhere in between dirty and clean. It's not completely clean, it's not completely dirty, but it's very efficient, and it keeps the price down, and it's a good leveler in between the transition. And I think the UK is building 6 new nuclear plants. Everyone is transitioning slowly into nuclear, so the demand for uranium will go through the roof. And I think that's one to be exposed to, again, for people that take the long-term view, not the ones that are going, because it's volatile, right?
Okay.
But it's a good level to get in and have some exposure.
Excellent. Okay. Thank you very much for that. We've only got a few minutes more to talk to you. You always stimulate, well, as well as being very realistic with us there, and thank you for that. Some suggestions, which is very helpful. No fiat system has ever survived, but never underestimate. You said this, haven't you, Paul? Never underestimate the powers that be's ability to postpone the inevitable. And that's what we're in at the moment, isn't it? I'm embarrassed to say that I don't know what the fiat system is, says Moaz. I mean, basically, it's printed money, isn't it? What we're talking about.
Yeah, is the current system as we know it. Yeah,
Yeah.
with the central banks just printing money and yeah, I mean, gold and silver is part of the monetary system, even though it's a different type of yeah, it's
Okay.
regarded as part of the monetary system, but it operates separately.
All right. Somebody had to say it. Is this the beginning of Bitcoin being accepted worldwide?
I mean, who knows? I mean, Bitcoin could go to the moon or it could go to zero.
Yeah.
That is the truth.
Yes.
I mean, no one knows. I think in the short term, I think it'll continue coming under pressure.
What do you think, global nobles? You're asking the question. Perhaps you have a view on that. If the IMF, the International Monetary Fund, goes bust, we could end up joining the BRICS system. There might be movements of this kind, right, Paul? The alliances might change a bit out of desperation, perhaps.
Well, it's an interesting because geopolitics forms an integral part of the monetary system, and global powers change, and the BRICS are becoming increasingly more powerful. So you've got the democracies, the liberals, the democracies,
yeah, such as we know them.
Such as we know them, and then you have the autocracies. Yeah, so we have Russia, China, India siding with those countries. Brazil, somewhere in the middle. So that there's power shifts taking place, and those will determine who wins the argument, because besides all the problems we have, who's going to rule the roost? Is it the liberal democracies or the autocracies?
Yes.
And we've got in the heart of Europe, we've got the war in Ukraine, which is a fight between liberals and fascists.
Certainly being portrayed as such, isn't it? In a sort of proxy political way, of course, as so many are. We are further cornered by the fact that large investors, says Pete, are buying up agricultural land at a rapid rate and pushing out small farmers. That going on as well. These are incredible times. I owned a Fiat 500 before I moved. Not the same. That's not the Fiat system we're talking about. Although I think
that Fiat might, funnily enough, hold its value better than the Fiat currencies we know.
Nobody said that 50 years ago with those rust buckets, did they? But now everything's changed. Bon dia, Paul. Trevor, morning, Trevor. Paul, education as always. I think the US CD rates of 6% from the early 2000s is not far off. What is a CD rate?
Certificate of deposit.
Okay, all right. So we're going to get some money back. Savers are going to start getting some money again.
Look,
nobody go.
They will, but for a time. There's going to be a pivot. They're going to raise rates, and then they're going to realize that they've gone too far.
Yeah.
And they will have to somehow they will have to backpedal, because they can raise rates, but the debt is too high. That's another interesting. Again, there's two schools of thought. The ones they say they can just keep on raising rates, and I'm sitting on another school of thought that they can to a point, but then the debt servicing becomes so much that is counterproductive, because then they start running even larger deficits. So they have to borrow money and create more debt, which is what they're trying to avoid.
Okay, so, Paul, you have to move on this morning. We've got Dr. Michael's waiting to see us.
No, that's fine. If I can,
but I want to know. People want to know where they can meet you. So we can make appointments with Paul at paul.korea@fwm.gi. But where are you going to be, Paul?
Yeah, I'm driving morning of the 19th of September, Monday. I'll be in the Algarve Monday and Tuesday. I will meet you in person, God willing, on Wednesday.
Yeah.
In Joao de San Martin, I think it's called.
San Martino de Porto.
San Martino de Porto.
Yes.
So I'll meet you on Wednesday. I'll be there between San Martino de Porto, Lisbon, Tomar, in that area, possibly until Thursday morning.
Yeah.
And then I'm driving down to the Algarve for Thursday afternoon and Friday. And then I'm off. So it's 19th of September, the 23rd. if you have any financial problems, retirement planning, UK pension transfers, tax planning, tax mitigation,
Marital problems? Oh, not
UK
those.
inheritance tax
Yeah.
exposure through your UK domicile, any
Yeah.
issues, this is the opportunity to meet me face to face. If you've got concerns about your investments and your savings, on how they're being run right now in this market of extreme uncertainty and
What
turmoil,
we've just said. Yeah,
then
absolutely.
give me a call, because my diary is filling up very, very quickly.
All right,
So-
Paul.Corea then at fwm.gi to make that appointment. Paul, always great to talk to you.
Thank you. It's a pleasure.
I look forward to having a cold beer with you and talking more about these things in person. in Portugal.
Absolutely.
Okay,
Thank you,
mate.
Carl.
Thank you so much.
Stay
Ciao, ciao.
blessed.
Bye for now.
Ciao, ciao.
Love to Gibraltar. Love to Gibraltar. We can't hang about this one. We've got a packed show for you. And my apologies to Dr. Michael, who I've kept waiting. It's normally the doctor that keeps other people waiting, isn't it, Dr. Michael? How are you this morning?
Not with us. Excuse me, sir. Not with us.
My bad. My bad. Okay, not with us.
Not with us. Not with us that the patient will be waiting for a doctor with us.
Okay.
But anyway, hey, I hear I just overheard like last minute or so. It's like about money. Yeah, I want this.
Yes, well, he's going to be in the country. He's going to be in the country.
No, I just want the money.
Oh, okay. Well, I'll see what I can do. I mean, the email address to ask for the money is paul.corea at fwm.gi. Mike. It's worth a try, isn't it? Worth a try. Some of those phishing emails get a bit of money sometimes. Sophia is with us as well. Good morning to you. How are you?
Hello. Good morning. I'm well, thank you.
Both of you from Serenity this morning. How's it going in the world of health and medicine here in Portugal?
Well, I don't know. We got a minister fired.
Yes,
actually,
you did. Were you behind that?
Yeah, of course.
Well done.
No, I'll tell you the truth. Like the night before she resigned, we were talking in the office, and I said, I apologize, really. I said, look, with all what's going on, mainly with the dreadful events with pregnant women.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, I said, look, probably in a different country, in a different under the different or same circumstances, the Minister of Health would resign. Next day, I wake up and she resigned.
Amazing.
I have nothing against this lady minister. I never met her. I don't know, but what's going on in the system is quite not okay. I don't know how to call it. I mean, I have my own perception of it, but it's really personal. So
Yes, but I think the point you're making, it was the honourable thing to do, given such a mess that she was presiding over. The calls for her to resign, she met with that and fell on her sword, so to speak.
Again, let's see what comes up, but something needs to be done. It's I can't apprehend in 2022 a woman, several women actually, dying during labor process. It can always happen. Women sometimes die. This is, it's not it's a very happy and natural process, but it sometimes gets complicated. 1 in 100,000 births or something have complications in which a woman can die. I have never witnessed in my 27, 8, 9 years of career a woman dying without being attended. No, it can happen that there's a complication, million people around a woman giving birth, saving her child, whatever, and sometimes they can't. Mm-hmm. A woman dies during transportation. A woman dies, I don't know, because she couldn't be attended because the ER was closed. There was no one to see her, no gynecologist, no midwife.
That's a terrible failing of what you could say is a so-called health system in that regard, and that's why the ministers felt the need to resign. So with this picture, I think this is part of the global picture that perhaps Paul was talking about. This is a very challenging time to be a human being in the world, isn't it? So many things are shifting and changing, not least the health system and the pressures that will come under because it doesn't exist in isolation. You've always been here as Serenity to help people at the best of times. Presumably you can help them in these somewhat challenging and what might be described as the worst of times as well, or worsening times at least.
I absolutely think so, because at the end of the day, I think that those events and other events within the system in Portugal are derived from the very simple fact that, with all due respect, again, this is only my perspective, there's a big gap or a great difference between a high quality of a physician that is very well trained, knowledgeable, he has good nurses around him, he has good equipment around him, he has all the means of diagnosis and treatment on one side. On the other side, there's this crowd, picture this picture, okay, then there's a huge crowd of people with needs, and they can't reach to this very well-equipped, knowledgeable, etc., staff.
Yes.
And I think that at the end of the day, what is lacking here is management. And connecting to what you said, if you manage a case, if you manage somebody's affairs in a structured way, with some dedication, with some commitment, and mainly with accessibility and availability, you prevent 95% of those cases. Some you just can't. Yes. Some are overwhelming medical situations. Some are very dreadful diagnosis. Okay, you can't do miracles, but the very vast majority of cases can be prevented with somebody to listen, somebody to be available, and somebody to manage the affairs in a better way. That's it.
Yep, fair enough. And there you are, helping and facilitating in that way, mediating and concierging people with their health. So, Sophia, you have fans, I think, this morning. Sarah's saying hi. Could you remind us, what is it you do for Serenity?
Good morning, everyone. I'm a nurse. I'm a case management. One of. We are now a team, a bigger team, and I am one of Serenity's case manager. I am a nurse. I used to work at oncology hospital, I worked for 5 years, and the managing department that's called the Central Administration of the Health System. So I knew Marta Tmid in person.
Did you? Oh, okay.
Yes, and I have to say that I know her work, and it's challenging for anyone to accept to be a Minister of Health here in Portugal.
Yeah.
Not I think in every country, not only for the challenge that it presents, but also for everything that's around the system. And again, what Michael told, it's a matter of managing, and how do you manage people's health at the end of the day? How do you help people and to stay healthy, first of all?
Yes.
Because managing health, this is why we don't manage disease, we manage health, because managing health is much more important. That if you have everything under control, if you can prevent yourself to get into an acute situation or uncontrolled something about your chronic disease, it's better. You can live a much fuller life, because health is not always at one point. You can go up and back and forward. But what's important is that you can manage everything, and you are able to if you get the response on time, something wouldn't be as difficult to control afterwards. And several types of diseases, we can talk about this.
Very interesting what you say. I mean, that's a diagnosis of the Portuguese health system and perhaps other health systems around the world. They're not in general care, are they? They have an acute situation.
Yes.
So they, the parallel is pretty clear.
We are very good, and again, what Michael said, we are very good when treating acute situation, life-threatening situation. You can see what happened with COVID, the fast response. But at what cost?
Yes.
At what cost did we do this? And what cost? We're very good if you have a car accident or if you're having a stroke. Everything will happen very fast and it will be perfect. But then the work doesn't stop there.
What about the day-to-day? Absolutely. Yes.
What about the day-to-day? What about what's left? What about what people have left with after an accident, after a stroke? Because it doesn't end there. It's a process in your life that you will have to adjust and you have to adapt to it. So this is why managing health, not diseases. Managing health is so important.
Well, somebody is making an interesting comment about that we'll come back to. But I think your fan mail is continuing actually in the chat this morning, as well as for Marta as well. Bon dia, Michael and Sophia. We are working. We're happy to be working with Marta at Serenity. Shalom to you from Michael. To Michael.
Shalom Aleichem.
Shalom Aleichem. Does Serenity offer assistance in the Azores? For health reasons, I'm stopping there from the US on the way to Lisbon to shorten my flight times. Ta-da! Ta-da! So the answer to that question is, do you cover the Azores?
Yes, we are in the Azores as well.
Okay, excellent. All right. That simple as that, Della. Yes. The answer to your question this morning.
Ken. In Hebrew, it's Ken.
Ken. Okay.
Ken,
Ken, I beg your pardon.
Ken, like Barbie and Ken?
Barbie and Ken. That's easy to remember. Bon dia todos. Serenity, the best investment ever. By the way, hello, beautiful Sophia. Look at this. And a lovely, lovely halo you've got as well now. It's just... Hi, Dr. Michael and Sophia. Raji here. I'm doing fine. So not in touch with you all. This is it. This is what perhaps you were talking about, Sophia. Routine maintenance. Because someone's doing fine, should they not get in touch with you?
It's good to get in touch from time to time just to tell me, okay, I'm okay.
Right. Okay. Right.
We love when everyone's okay, and our objective is to get ahead of what can be a need. Of course, that we can help when something is happening and help. And usually when something is happening is where you have the most stress, because you will need to have access quickly to the system, whether it's public, whether it's private. So this is where it's more challenging for us, and it can take, but also on the day-to-day basis, there's from time to time certain situation that people okay, hello, I'm doing fine, this is happening to me or not, just to keep in touch. And the idea is for most of our clients to keep sending us message saying, okay, we're fine, everything's good, we're under control, or for us to keep sending them messages saying, I hope that everything is okay. Don't forget that it's this time of the year to do this and this.
Yes.
So just keep on track of what are their needs.
But you don't have to be ill to join Serenity. Is the other part of this, right?
On the contrary, you have to be well. No, really, and the idea is to what Sophia was saying. The idea is to provide people with the right advice at the right time. Speaking of which, by the way, if we still have time, we wanted to mention something, and these are the recommendations for vaccines. We're in September. It still feels summer, but we're almost in autumn, winter times. So there are recommendations about flu vaccines, COVID vaccines, pneumonia vaccines, etc., etc. So if we have like 5 minutes, we just wanted to give a small word about that. Is that okay?
Yeah, of course. Please go ahead.
Sophia, it's all yours.
Oh, okay, Sophia, all yours.
Just the new recommendation for the new booster for the vaccine, the fourth dose for most people, has come from the DGS, the Direção Geral de Saúde. So the recommendations are that people that are more than 60 years old are eligible for the vaccine, but also people between 17 and 59 are also eligible, as long as they have, there are certain types of conditions that had to be considered. Immune suppressed, if you have health issues regarding your lungs, or if you have any kind of immune suppressive disease, you were transplanted, obese, the obese and the very low weighted people, and I don't think I'm forgetting any recommendation. Yeah. So what happens usually in Portugal is, for everyone that is registered with the SNS, with the system, they will start calling people from the list that are eligible. So they will start calling, you will start receiving your message, people that doesn't have the fourth dose. This happens also for the flu shot. It happens the same thing. You will start getting your message saying, inviting you to come to do the vaccine.
Okay.
If you do not have or still don't have the SNES number, or you are in this risk group, and if you are more than 60 or with one of these diseases that come at this new norm, you have to have a paper from a doctor stating that you need the fourth booster.
Okay.
So because some of the people are still in this process of getting their SNES number, are not still registered with a public health center, you can be in this transition period and be eligible for the fourth dose. So it's important to go and see to go and have a statement from the doctor so you can have eligibility for the booster shots.
Okay.
They still didn't. The flu and the COVID can be done at the same time, so it's going to be one in each arm. You can go and do both vaccines at the same time.
Right. Okay. Any
Okay.
contraindications?
Yeah, and be advised that. Sorry, I interrupted you, but be advised that the new booster is already kind of diverted towards the Omicron.
Yes.
And again, this idea of joining together the two shots, COVID and flu, is with the picture of prevention of what's going to probably happen in December, January, February in the emergency rooms. That's the idea behind it. And we, at least, I think that Sophia and I, we share the same perception here. It's pretty important. It's pretty important because the country is wide open. Actually, the world is practically wide open except for several countries. Everybody's flying around. So flu together with COVID, together with a advanced age / chronic diseases, not a very good party. I would avoid this party.
Okay. But some people are somewhat fatigued by this as well, aren't they? I mean, maybe this is too big a discussion to go into right now, but it was thought, wasn't it? Like get the first jab and then get the boosters. Now we're on to the fourth one, and you'll be fine. You won't get it. But loads of people have had the whole course and are still getting COVID. What would you say to them?
Look, at the end of the day, it's statistics. We know a lot more than 2 years ago about COVID. We know a lot more about the efficacy of vaccines. You cannot argue with statistics. And the statistics are that I'll say it very generally without stepping on anybody's toes, those that are for vaccines and against vaccines.
Yes.
People got sick. And yet people got much less to be very seriously sick. They got much less intubated on respirators, and the quantities and statistically significant raise of deaths due to COVID has dropped down quite immensely.
Yeah.
So you still get sick. You still get I think much more mildly sick. So you can't argue with the fact that something has happened. And then philosophically, you can talk about the immunity of the herd. You can talk about the immunity of the vaccines. You can talk about whatever you want, but something has worked. Now, leave alone COVID. Flu has been here forever. People went to do their flu shots, and apparently it worked as well. So, unless you are really religiously, because of whatever reasons, against vaccinations, against the control of the government over your health, etc. Somebody says
we know that Michael's been on Facebook because we had a webinar about it, didn't we?
But again, you can argue with everything. I'm saying that look at the numbers. If somebody doesn't want to get vaccinated, I'm not going to force nobody. I will not going to drag anybody to a vaccination post. I'm just saying that we truly reading the the information available. And now people can argue about the fact that this information is driven by funds and money of Pfizer and Moderna and however you want it. Really doesn't matter. I think with the very humble knowledge that we have and we read, that vaccination campaigns work and vaccination campaigns prevent people from dying. That's it.
Okay.
I'm not about getting into fights with anyone.
Good.
No.
Yes.
Okay.
And that's why I was telling that usually it's an invite. It's in Portugal, no one is obligated to do any vaccine, so it's always an invite.
Yes.
It's always an invite for something and saying we have this. This is available for you if you want. So it's a lot of your personal decision, your personal choice, but it's you can read, you can research, and this is why it's so important to have all the information and look for it and learn how to look for it in the right places. So there is official websites where you can look for the information, and it's a personal choice.
Okay.
Has professionals, medical professionals, and strong believers of the good results that you can have within vaccines. We thought that would be important for people to know that it will be available and in what conditions, specific, because a lot of people still don't have their SNS number, so they can feel that this can be a barrier for them to have access to the vaccine, which is not. Which is
okay, interesting. Well, I think that's part of what Amelie's asking here. So she'll be talking to one of your colleagues, Rafaela, soon. She's ready. She's rolling up her sleeve already there. Pamela asking on this question of vaccines, is it still the case that you can't have a booster within 6 months of having COVID? Is that true?
Yes, 4 to 6 months. Yes.
Oh, okay, interesting. I didn't know that. And is the new variant vaccine from the US available in Portugal? Wonder which one. Does that make sense to either of you?
I think that Moaz is referring to the
Pfizer.
No, to the Omicron one, which is I mean,
which is what you mentioned.
I haven't heard about the newer variant.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's the vaccine of now, of today, is the new is the old new variant. It's the Omicron, and this is designed to fight the Omicron. Yes.
Okay, so there you go, Moaz. Simon, as an alternative, a good diet and exercise promotes natural immunity. How about as a complementary rather than alternative? I'm sure you would promote good diet and exercise as well at Serenity, right?
Absolutely so. Look, I think we touched it on several kind of stations along our conversation of today. We promote good health. As much as possible, and good health comes with whatever makes people feel well, as long as they don't treat I don't know what, an overwhelming leukemia with a diet of tomatoes, we're fine. No, I mean, look, there are attitudes and there are approaches that say that you can overcome everything with a diet, with sleep, with meditations. By the way, I have heard and seen cases that it helped. It's great, as long as you don't die religiously believing that tomatoes is the best thing that could work for you. It's totally okay, but like you need to look at it on a kind of a holistic way.
Absolutely.
And if you're about to die from leukemia, I would rather give you the needed chemotherapy together with the tomatoes, but not only the tomatoes.
I think it's the Tomato Marketing Board of the world that came up with that particular diet. But follow the money as ever. Right, we've looked at health from top to bottom this morning. On which note, serious notes, you helped be here, find the perfect clinic for colonoscopy. The staff there were very knowledgeable, friendly, and also spoke English, so everything went well. This characterizes what you do, right? Helping people in a difficult situation. And some reassurance. This is where the value is in Serenity, isn't it? It's a lovely case study to conclude our conversation this morning. Apart from a last word from both of you, please. So first, you, Sophia.
Oh, I just wanted to say that, complementing to what you say, most of all, we want people to feel safe and to feel and do not feel lost, because whether you have or not a health issue, and specifically if you have one, you need someone that will make you feel safe with your choice and help you to do an informed choice, so you will be comfortable with that. And this is always our way. We don't impose our choices, because they're not ours to make. They're theirs to make. We can help you, and we can advocate for you, and we can advise, but always you need to feel comfortable and safe with the choices that you make.
Thank you. This is why people love you so much, Sophia. All that excellent feedback earlier on, and the shafts of miracle light coming in behind you there. Thank you very much for that. Michael, last word to you.
She rules. She said it all.
That's wisdom, isn't it? Knowing when not to talk as well. So yes, Sophia, you nailed it there. Michael, Sophia, thank you so much, both of you, for being
Thank
here.
you,
Have a great
Thank
day.
you.
Pleasure as usual.
So much.
Another one of these for you. Ciao, ciao. See you. Bye for now. There they go, Sophia and Michael at Serenity. Thank you for all your input as well, folks, during that conversation. Fantastic. We move on again because we've kept him waiting long enough. Daniel Reis, everybody, live from Lisbon. How are you, Daniel?
Hello. Good morning. I'm quite all right. What about yourself, Carl?
Well, it's been a very, very busy and exciting show this morning. We've looked at...
Yeah. I was listening attentively, and the conversation was actually good. And the ministry that was sacked, she needed to go because of the world situation that occurred. She really needed to go.
Okay.
Yeah.
And she did the honourable thing, I suppose, would be
that's it. She took the political responsibility to remove herself from the job, although it's not her direct responsibility. But a politician's life is not a grateful life, I would say. So you cannot expect gratitude once you are a politician. And although she did face a really terrible situation with COVID, at this time, with all the problems that we were having, she was the scapegoat, and she needed to walk away. So I do concur that it was the best scenario, her removing herself from the post and allowing someone else to resume the govern of the ministry.
Well said. And that sounds like one of those wonderful Portuguese phrases. The politician's life is not a grateful one, or something like that.
They cannot expect gratitude at the end of their commission. So it is what it is. Once you get into politics, you know what will happen to you eventually. So it's one more victim of of politics. It is what it is.
Yeah, the cut and thrust of political life. We have a question. We're going to get straight into the questions, if we may. Then you're here to answer these questions from Reis and Pellicano, our favoured law firm in Portugal, in Lisbon. I have a revocable trust in the US. That almost sounds like a medical question rather than a legal one. Could have asked Michael. He's got a revocable trust in the US. I am fine with the Portuguese laws regarding end-of-life distribution of assets. Regarding my question, all my assets are in the US. Have we missed a bit there, or is that enough of a question for you to answer?
I think that the question is not complete, but in my perspective, as long as he doesn't have any assets in Portugal, the trust and the wills that eventually James has abroad, they will not be touched by the Portuguese law. The only thing that is indeed worrisome in some situations is assets in Portugal and bank accounts held here with money deposited here. If he is a US citizen living in Portugal, but he has all his assets in the US and just cash to spend on a day-to-day basis here in Portugal, I wouldn't say that the situation about having the Portuguese laws being applicable is something that James should be worried about.
Okay, so there you go. Yeah, we have found the end of that question. Do I need to do anything? And I suppose this is a little bit like the will question that comes up, isn't it? So without the having assets here, nothing is required.
Correct. I wouldn't worry too much without having assets in Portugal, because the only way that the Portuguese law is applicable is for assets in Portugal, like property, cars, money deposited here, eventually companies incorporated in Portugal. This is where things do get sometimes a bit messy, and this is why I usually do that recommendation of having the international will to avoid the application of the Portuguese law altogether, and just to have the foreign law or the law from the nationality of the person that passed away being applicable. Because if they do not agree with the strict way that the Portuguese law does divide the assets, my advice is indeed have an international will. For this situation, just a normal life here in Portugal with the rental agreement and some cash to spend on a day-to-day basis, I wouldn't bother in doing an international will because I don't see any need for it.
Yeah. Okay, thank you very much for that. Whilst we await further questions, and please do get them in. Daniel's here once a month. Now is the time to ask him. Oh, one's just come in as I'm saying that. Do you create the international wills that you're talking about?
We do assist clients in creating the international wills, but for the Portuguese law to be everything as it should, this is finally done within a notary. So we do work with notaries from top to bottom in the country. We prepare everything that is needed and accompany the client to the notary to make sure that everything is correct, especially because notaries in Portugal work in Portuguese, and the majority of our clients, as they are international ones, they don't fully speak the language. So we are not the ones that do the final document. We prepare the document, we send it to the notary, and the notary will indeed notarize the signatures of the client because it needs to be done in a notary by the Portuguese law. But we, of course, accompany the client in the process from top to bottom.
Amazing. Okay, I wanted to talk to you about this news item: widespread corruption in justice system, unfounded. But we can't for the time being. We might come back to that. The questions are pouring in, Daniel. Okay. I want Portuguese law to be applied. So this is interesting in a way that a lot of people might not want Portuguese law to be applied. He actually proactively does. So what do we do for James in this situation?
Well, then I would move your assets to Portugal, but I don't know if this is convenient or not, because if the trust is located in the US and if the money is in the US, then the US law definitely will be applicable because you are a US citizen. But I don't think that moving your assets to Portugal will be convenient because we don't have the trust figure here as you do have in the US. So we do have the figure of a corporation, so you can have a limited liability company, and this is a for-profit entity, or we have the entity of a foundation, but a foundation usually has a social purpose. So a trust that strictly divides the assets of the person into any creditors that he may have. This is not a legal figure that we do have in our Portuguese system. So to have the same trust structure that James has, I don't think that this would be applicable here in Portugal. Nonetheless, drop us an email. We can try to structure something on your behalf in Portugal, although it may not be a trust that would be held here. So this would need to be assessed carefully, but bear in mind that the trust figure does not exist in the Portuguese law.
There you go. I mean, James sees the world in a very different way, and there he is, providing a somewhat unusual scenario there. It's usually the other way around for people, isn't it? But he wants Portuguese law to be applied. So there you go. That's a solution, James, for that. Have a chat with Daniel. Bon dia, Daniel, from Trevor. If a spouse on a joint checking account in Portugal passes away, does that impact the living account holder's access to the account? What a great question. Something practical insight here that we need to know about.
Well, the other person that holds the account and that has access to it will be able to move the account until the communication of the passing away does occur. Okay. So what usually happens and this is not the proper way to do things, but there's a lot of people that do it in this way. They will, because everyone agrees upon, all the heirs do agree upon, they will remove the money from the bank account, they will distribute it in the proper fashion, and then they will communicate that someone passed away. This is not the way that it should be done, because if any problems will occur, the person that removed the money may have or may face a legal action against him. What it should be done, and this is where accounts do get blocked, is that the passing away, the death certificate should be communicated to the bank, plus the what is it called in Portuguese? It's habilitação de herdeiros. This is basically a document that all the heirs are specified, and this should be done via the eldest of the heirs. We call the eldest of the heirs here in Portugal the cabeça de casal. Basically, this cabeça de casal is the manager of all the assets from the inheritance of the person that passed away.
Yeah.
So this person is basically he has the same legal figure of a manager of a company, that he can indeed rent the assets and put the assets to good use in terms of producing money until all the assets from the person that passed away are indeed distributed, because sometimes people do not distribute the assets from the person that passed away for 10, 15 years or even more, because the assets of someone that passed away will have a NIF, a Portuguese tax number, so they can be in contracts. The property that is left here in Portugal can have a rental agreement, even though it's still in the name of the inheritance. Once all the heirs are ready to distribute the assets, so sell the properties, or each one will have their own property and register that in their own names, they can do this on a timely fashion. But the first stepping stone is the death certificate, plus this habilitação de herdeiros, or the communication to a notary that these are the heirs. This is a public deed, basically. These are the heirs, these are their NIFs. It's mandatory for all the heirs to have the NIFs. And sometimes this is problematic, because if you have 3 or 4 sons abroad and you are the only one living here, for them to be considered their heirs here in Portugal and have this habilitação de herdeiros done, they will need to obtain NIFs. So this is another bureaucratic process that they'll need to overcome. After this is done, with the 2 documents, the habilitação de herdeiros plus the death certificate, they can go to the bank, do the communication of the passing away, and the cabeça de casal, the manager of the heirs, will be able to remove the money and distribute the money among the heirs. That's basically how it operates.
That is such a good insight into Portuguese life as well, isn't it? At the same time. Yeah. Okay. Sorry, I interrupted you. Go, carry on.
Usually, I would say that the majority of the heirs, once there's a will, they will know what to do, and they will know how to distribute the assets. Problems usually do start when you don't have a will and there's nothing referenced how the money will be distributed. So if everyone is agreeing, this is usually I wouldn't say a speedy process, but an easy process in the distribution of the assets. If this was not discussed upon, then problems may arise, because one of the heirs may feel that his rights are not being accounted for. Although, if the Portuguese law is indeed applicable, I would say that the system is I wouldn't say that the system is complex. It is written in the law. It is stated in the law how the division of the assets should be done. So the majority of problems that we do see, I don't think they are legal problems, but more of an emotional situation that is being managed within the family, and not so much on the legal department. And our job is to explain that although emotions do run quite high in these situations, if it's in the law is applicable, and that's basically it. So it is a touchy situation. It's not an easy situation, but it needs to be dealt with.
That's so interesting, and what a lovely phrase that is, cabeça de casal. It's like the head of the household, and that's a kind of historical and cultural thing, isn't it? So that's the oldest child, is it, or the oldest son?
Well, if the spouse is still present, then it's the spouse.
Okay.
If the couple, all of them have passed away, then it's the oldest child that will assume the role of cabeça de casal. Although, if he doesn't want to, he can relinquish his powers to the next one, and so on and so forth.
Very
So,
interesting.
yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So another moral of the story is get on well with the oldest child.
Yes, I'm not the
Maintain
oldest one.
maintain good relationships with your
Nah,
siblings.
I do like my brother, and we do have a really good relationship. So I'm not worried about him, not at
And
all.
it's a statement of public record now. in,
Yes,
case, in
yes.
case you want older
I will
brother.
show him the video.
Superb. Okay, and then on this practical matter then of expats, immigrants, foreigners moving here, they have a joint account. You don't foresee a difficulty in this particular case.
No,
In this, it's
no.
unfortunate and tragic circumstances.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
If everything is by the book, you do need indeed the death certificate plus the habilitação de herdeiros. But apart from it, after this is done, you can remove the full amount of the accounts and distribute it as it should be.
Okay.
If you remove the money before the communication of the person passing away, you may incur in the risk that you are taking some of the assets of the person that passed away and not
Course.
distributing it in the correct fashion. So this may be problematic, although there's a lot of people that do it because it's just more convenient. You remove the money, you distribute it, and then you do the communications afterwards. We don't advise this because this is not the legal way to do it.
Yeah. Yeah, well, we understand why that would happen, but yeah, we can also see how that would get you into some trouble.
Yes.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Great question, Trevor. Thank you for that, Daniel. Another question for you. What is the residency requirement to apply for citizenship then? Some Portuguese government sites say 5 years, others 6. Is that because it's in the 6th year after 5 years have passed? Is that why?
It's an excellent question. A few years back, it was 6 years, and this is probably some sites were not updated, and this is just a reminiscence of the old law. Nowadays, it's 5 years of having residency permit. So basically what the law states at the current moment is within the last 15 years, you need to have 5 years of residency. So you may have 2 years of residency in 2010 until 2012. Then you interrupted your life in Portugal, went abroad, and you came back, and now you're spending 3 more years in Portugal. And after you do 5 years plus 1 day, then you are able to request the residency. Some clients that are really organized, they have the residency permits scanned, and we can do the accountancy of how long they've been staying in Portugal. So we are 100% sure when the client can deliver the nationality process. We try to do it 1 or 2 weeks after he is 5 years in presence in Portugal. Some of the clients that are not 100% sure, especially because of SEF, you have the booking in one time, then the residency permit is issued 1 or 2 months after that. So some divergences may occur. If the client is not sure when the 5 years will occur, there is a document that can be requested to SEF. It's called Certificado de Contagem de Tempo. Basically, it's a certificate of accountancy of time that the client will be able to know for sure how much time as he had in residency permit, and then he can do the math and on when the process will be able to be submitted. One good thing that I usually recommend to all the clients that are requesting nationality is that the language proof, the Portuguese language exam, can be taken at any time. So if the client is on year 2 or 3, but he is able to take the exam already, you should do it because the exam doesn't expire. It's not something like the TOEFL exam or the ones that you do in British Council that do expire after 1 or 2 years. This is not the case for the Portuguese exams. So the clients can take the exam whenever they are okay with it, when they feel that it is the right time. And if they get approved, they can use the exam in 2 or 3 years' time. And that would be actually good because they can save some time in the application. One other note on the nationalities is that it's taking 2.5 years for nationality to be approved if it's with a residency card. So other types of nationalities may be quicker, but this is the residency card one for time of residency is taking a bit longer.
Wow. Thank you so much for that. That's a great answer to Sarah's question. So thank you for asking that, Sarah. Thank you for answering it, Daniel. We've got some more questions in our last few minutes here. This is fantastic this morning. Thank you, everybody. James is happy. He will be in touch. Muito obrigado.
Good.
Will made in the States, recently bought a house and a car. Does Portuguese law apply in this case? So yes, I think get in touch with Daniel if you want the international will sorted out. Pam went to a condo meeting last night, and there was a discussion about the condo meetings, condo associations. Who administers the condo, not being an entity at Finanzas, not a company nor an association? Does that sound right? Can we make sense of that?
Well, you can be one person can manage the condominium, even if he's not a condominium older unit, or if it doesn't own any property in that condominium. So it can be usually it's a company. They do have a company that is incorporated and that manages the condominiums. Some people prefer to do it on their own with their own tax number. So the person that will administer the condominium will either be a physical person that will have a NIF, or will be an entity, a company already incorporated that will have an NIPC. This is the NIF number for companies. If the condominium is quite a recent one, though, they may have or they may not have yet their own NIF, because the condominium, once it's incorporated, you need to take the minute of the condominium to the tax authorities, and they will provide an NIF number to the condominium, because the condominiums do need to have a NIF number, and this may be the problem. So if it's the person managing the condominium, for sure he needs to have a NIF, either company or personal, and the condominium will need to have their own NIF, because they'll need to open a bank account, and they may have some legal responsibilities. And even for receipts to be issued, the condominium will always need a NIF. So I'm not 100% sure on how's the current situation, although everyone will need a NIF. That's the basic bottom line.
Yes, there's the
condominium will need NIF. The people that manage the condominium will need NIFs, for sure.
That's right, and that's what I've always said. Thoughtful grandparents make sure their grandchildren have a NIF as soon as they're born. Okay, who is the cabeza de casal if you don't have children? Is it siblings, nephews? Who does that go to? Great question. Another one from Pam.
Well, if you don't have any spouses, and if you don't have any other, if you don't have any kids, it may be or parents if they're still alive, or brothers, and eventually nephews. So depending on what is the closest kin that you have, it will be the one that will be the cabeza de casal. But this will depend on the family connections that the person has. Usually it's the spouse, then it's the kids, then it's the parents, then brothers, and then later down the line, nephews and next of kin and that sort.
Okay, amazing. What an interesting little lid we've lifted on Portuguese culture there and law. That's fantastic. A final note then, Daniel, you're a legend. You've been amazing this morning, as ever. But João F is saying, if you do not want to have any problems with Portuguese bureaucracy regarding inheritance, then don't die. I guess that's one way of looking at it, isn't it?
Yeah. Become immortal and live your life in sunny Portugal forever. I think it's a good plan.
What brilliant advice. João F and Daniel Reis there of Reis and Pellicano. Thank you so much, Daniel.
Carl.
Daniel,
it's a pleasure as usual.
Thank you so much, Igualmente, and you can find Daniel in our business directory. Take care, mate. Bye for now. Have a lovely day in Lisbon.
Take care. Ciao. Bye-bye.
Wow. Superb. That's for everybody this morning. We've all done very, very well. And we need to go back, do we not, to those dad jokes to finish the show this morning. Let's do that. So thank you, Daniel. Thank you, Michael, Sophia, and to Paul. What a show this morning. And thanks to all of you. And I know I didn't get around to all of you and all your questions and comments. You know, I hate it when that happens, when I can't speak to everybody. Saw you, Garvo, by the way. Thank you very much. Dad jokes then. Where are we? In this all the way back to the beginning of the show, getting ready with some of these for this morning. I think there was a good one about being indecisive, but I'm not so sure now. And there have been so many not interventions. They weren't interventions. They were kindly contributions. So many kindly contributions this morning. Okay, I think I'm there. I think I've nearly found the dad jokes. Yes, you have been warned. Most people are shocked when they find out how bad I am as an electrician. Yes, I used to think I was indecisive, but I'm not so sure now. Great. And finally this morning, people who use selfie sticks really need to take a long, good look at themselves. Superb stuff. See you tomorrow. Herodius Maximus will be with us tomorrow morning. So, yeah, see you tomorrow. If we're asking anything about Portugal, you've been amazing. Michael Herodius Maximus joins us tomorrow. Have a great day. Ciao for now. Adios.
In Portugal, there's a YouTube show full of fun facts you need to know. Carl rings the bell and the members show to the GMP morning show. Featured guests will come and they will blow your mind. The audience will do so in kind. The little vanity mixed with some insanity on the morning show with GMP.